Hello, everybody. It is me, Pacific. A viewer asked me a question yesterday saying, could you make a video on how beautiful women or good looking people cannot accept criticism, that they're not criticized? And I started thinking about that and I thought, I can't leave it to just the good looking ones. I find that our whole society doesn't like criticism. And if we're honest, none of us like it either. It depends on who it's coming from, how it's delivered, and what they're saying. I have gotten a lot of criticism most of my life, and it took me years to finally decipher what criticism do I listen to, what criticism do I jettison, and when do I learn to consider the source of who's saying what. If somebody who's a respectable, nice, soft-spoken individual who lives their life with a certain amount of classiness and excellence comes up and taps me politely and says, Pacific, I want to share something with you, I am more inclined to listen to that person than some stinky, overweight woman criticizing my singing when I reflect back on the people in Hong Kong, the older ladies and the ladies my age at church that come up every Sunday at any church I've been to and says, you have a nice voice, you should be up there singing. I think my voice is okay. There's some strains that I cannot reach. There's songs that are either too low or too high pitched, and I just get silence. Like, I can't reach those. And I think I'm okay, but singing is tough. There's some songs I can do really well if I don't have a bunch of stuff draining and not in mile high altitude, which is drying on the voice. Virtually every speaker I hear in Denver has always got a glass of water at the podium. Constantly. I always refer to Denver as the mile-high snot capital of USA. And it's true. I can't tell you how many people I run into that are constantly clearing their throat and sniffing, and we have a layer of smog that hangs over the city at times. We have a lot of dust here. I will dust my bus every night, the dash. I'll come in the next morning, there's a fine layer of dust on everything. I don't know why, but part of it's the dryness. But anyways, back to the subject at hand, rabbit trails aside. I think people in our culture today have been so conditioned by everything. I remember years ago I had a roommate when I was in Prescott, Arizona. And I said, hey, where are you going? Because he was jetting out the door. He says, oh, I'm going to an assertive training class at the college tonight. Yavapai Community College in Prescott. And I said, assertive training? Yeah, it's to learn how to assert yourself and all this. I thought, oh, that sounds like a good idea. Little did I realize assertive training has morphed into aggressive behavior. And I've watched, whether it's in traffic and somebody's in a Mini Cooper or a Geo Metro, that they seem to think that I'm in this small car, I'm just going to bully over. I'm thinking, dude, you could get killed. You're cutting off a semi-truck or my bus. People today have become very, very arrogant. And in the video that I did the role playing as if though I was speaking like Satan, I know that's silly. But I was trying to underscore some points. For any of you that are reading aficionados, check out C.S. Lewis' Screwtape Letters. C.S. Lewis, that was a masterpiece of his. And it was as if though the demons were communicating. And I took off on that my own modern way. That's all. But when I look at the arrogance of people today, I constantly have to tell myself the truth because I am very sensitive to things. One of the reasons I'm very sensitive is I didn't grow up with community and love and all that. I've tried to live most of my life pleasing people, doing things I didn't really want to do just to get the approval of others. When I talked about the dynamic of three and group dynamics, that is especially true of teenagers. But I found out that when I graduated high school, you always think that when you become teenager, junior high, and you go to high school that you leave the playground. Playground's for elementary school, right? No, you don't. When you become an adult, the playground's even bigger. Very difficult to navigate our world today. When you are outgoing, outspoken, and you're sensitive, and you're not like other guys, I'm smart enough to look you all in the eye and say, I know, I got a big target on my back. In our culture, the way for most men to be is to walk around with your chest puffed out and do not talk about deep issues. You carry yourself in such a way that I'm doing well because people leave those people alone. The loudmouth woman who sits at the table with all her little demon-infested friends, yes, you heard me. I look at people, and the other day I had this thought of this winged thing sitting on the ledge of the top of a brick edifice of a building, and all the other people sitting there. And I thought of myself, and I stretch out my wings, and I go, I've had enough of this, and I flutter off away from the cronies sitting on the ledge. I like what a lady in Spokane said. Some people are like skunks. All they do is spray. I laughed. I pirate that all the time. One of the greatest comments I heard about Democrats, my uncle said this, and I love it. He said, Democrats are like seagulls. All they do is squawk and crap all over everything. I thought, that's great. I'm a slow learner. I've always been slow. When I was in school, I was behind my peers, and that caused me to be mocked. A sign that Satan exists and is moving is arrogance. People thinking of themselves more highly than they ought. Imagine this, viewers. You have God who created this world in 6 days. He says, let there be, and it shows up. Go work on your car. Go sand. I had a 62 Chevy pickup many years ago. Sanded it, painted it, spray painted the inside of the cab powder blue, did the outside royal navy blue. I'm telling you, sanding a truck is a pain in the rumpus. Gosh. And God just spoke this world into existence, but we got to work and sweat and burn out ourselves to get something done. And then puny man at the end of the day says, I got a college degree. Check out my nice ride, my trophy wife. And you want to say, do you really think you've arrived? There's a world of almost 7 billion people, and I would say 99.99% of them don't know you, don't care. One message I want to shout to the teenage girls in our country is, you know what, let me pick you up and drop you in the middle of a place like India and see how long you get away with dressing with your cleavage showing like that and your little attitude. I'm sure those Indian men will treat you very well. Not. Teenage girls in the U.S. are insular in their culture in that they know you can't touch them. Yesterday, let me tell you what happened yesterday. This is a perfect example of our society. I pull up, I'm on a street, I'm at a stop sign, and to my left on the cross street, back about 150 feet, is another school bus, works with me. She's letting off a whole busload of junior high kids. This has been a problem stop every single day. I see all the kids coming, so I put out my stop sign going, well, I'm not going to be able to cross this street anyway because they're all going to just pour out into the intersection. And it's not a four-way stop. I have the stop sign. The road she's on doesn't. Now all these junior high kids, mostly Mexican, come walking across in front of my bus, and then they stop. They get to the front of my bus. They're in the street. They're in the middle of the intersection, horsing around, shoving each other. And this one fat, roly-poly Mexican kid, you know, the fat cheeks, the whole thing, he starts kicking this little boy on a bicycle, just kicking him and shoving him. And I honked the horn, and I looked at him, get out of the road. And he spits, and he goes, F you, and goes off. And I said, get out of the street, man. The lady on my bus, Spanish blood at a bus aid yesterday, she stands up, and I'm thinking, everything in me at 47 years old would like to get off of that bus as fast as a torpedo, grab that kid by the shirt, land him straight on his back on the pavement, put my knee to his chest and say, what did you say? They know we can't do nothing. Well, I had on my sleeveless shirt, you know, one of the sweatshirts I cut off, more of a muscle shirt. He comes around the side of my bus, my door is open, he looks at me and I said, watch your mouth, boy, just like that. He looked at me and he suddenly, uh-oh. But yet they still know you can't do anything. This is what has happened in our society. I'll tell you something about bullies. I looked at this kid. I even told the bus aide, I said, did you see him? I said, it's typically these roly-poly kids. They're bigger than the other kids, but they have no muscle. They have no muscle tone. They're not, you know, ripped or anything. And you just look at them and go, you think you can take me? You're half my size, dude. I mean, hitting him would be like burying your fist in a pillow. Give me a break. She is 19 years old, was raised with discipline, and she goes, I'll tell you what. I said, I wish we were back 40 years ago. I said, I would have been off that bus and in his face right now. She goes, I know, huh? She said, you know what? She said, if I'd have been out there and that had been my boy, my hand would have been, I would have said, talk like that to me again. Come on. She was not afraid. She's the one that pierced her face and everything. She was raised with discipline, and I give her credit for that. Her mother did a good job that way. Girls today get away with this behavior because we let them. When we talk about the dynamic of three, one of my viewers made a comment, said, you see this when a woman's in this picture. I've been in chat rooms. There's some woman who's taken off her top, and everybody's watching her cam, and then they're, wow, thanks for letting me see your cam. And I've tried experiments. I said, wow, I said, it's amazing how nice everybody is when clothes are being removed. And then all the guys, dog pile on Pacific. I said, it's amazing you guys are going to sit in here and pretend to be the stallion in the chat room because you're seeing some boobs. And I said, and I saw this dynamic in chat rooms. Whenever there's a girl in there who talks on the mic, and I've listened to some of the things, I'll get on the mic and said, you know what, lady, you're not all that, so just quit. And all the guys, F you, Pacific, blah, 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 blah. You see that in our society. Somebody told me last night, they put a profile on a dating site, said I had 30 responses right away. And right away I thought, you're a girl. Girls will have responses all the time if they're slender and good looking, which she is. It doesn't mean any of those guys are good. Doesn't mean a thing. A guy like me can put a profile out there, people will look, nobody will respond. And I tend to ask myself, am I retarded? Am I a doofus? And there are some people that would write me and say, well, yeah, you look like this. I think it's funny when guys start writing me and telling me what I am. It's like, are you a faggot? I have no tolerance for guys judging my looks in that way. It's like, what are you checking me out for? I don't look at other guys and go, wow, he's good looking or he's not. I mean, I might make a comment when a guy's really arrogant. I'll think, gosh, he's not even handsome. This guy's way off the beam. And I don't mean that in a gayish way, I mean that in a critical analysis sort of way. The question is asked, do women of beauty tend to avoid being criticized? Of course. Our society has made an altar, a high place of good-looking women. Good-looking women can do no wrong. Good-looking women are not going to be criticized. And if one man in a group of men criticizes that woman, watch out. The other men are going to try to come to her defense in valor and say, "Oh, you horrible, loathsome beast, you." I call it being motivated by the penis. That thing between their legs. Men lose their objectivity when a beautiful woman walks in the room. Every time. There are exceptions to that. More and more men are starting to see this dynamic and starting to work on it, saying, I don't care how pretty she is, I'm going to wait till she opens her mouth. And when she does, and I hear what comes out of it, then I'm going to go, oh, she may be pretty, but she's a ding-dong. Generally speaking, American society doesn't take criticism at all. Obese women, they don't take criticism well. People that got pride and arrogance, I see it in traffic all day. I see it all the time. Somebody does something clearly boneheaded and wrong and almost gets in a wreck, and you tap the horn. Why don't they put their... I'm sorry. They won't even do that. People cannot put their whatever they're doing in reverse. Yesterday, our terminal manager had a meeting with all the break room, with 200 of us in there, had to talk to us about bus issues and different things. And then she said, no, I hate to even have to mention this, and I'm not going to say a lot because this is ridiculous. I want the fighting in the terminal to stop. If you don't like somebody, walk away from them. Ironically, the ones that caused the most trouble were applauding. And I thought, this message, they're not getting it. It was told to me yesterday by a senior driver who I respect. There was a woman that just the other day started an all-out argument in the break room, right in front of me, not with me, but with a woman had made a comment out loud that had nothing to do with this other female, and this woman went off like a Roman candle. I'm standing there going, what the H-E-L-L? I told the boss what happened. I said, that comment wasn't even made at her or about her at all. Somebody was talking to me about that woman just yesterday and said, she goes to the other terminal, causes trouble over there, and then she'll bid on a route over at this terminal, cause trouble over here, and she's been doing this for years. I'm going to say something, viewers and women, please don't get offended at this. 99% of the problems at our bus garage, at our terminal, are caused by females, not men. Men, if they don't like each other, we just ignore each other. And there's men I don't like. There's one man who's getting under my skin. He's fat, overweight, and balding, and he hangs out with the liberal black woman. He's the one that he doesn't like me because he found out I'm conservative. Let me tell you about the dynamics of what goes on with people like that. I was on an excursion, 3 of us. One of them was the liberal. He was behind me. We were leaving. We were loading our students. I had my right turn signal on. I was waiting for the bus in front of me to move. He started to move. I start to gently creep forward, and I see the front of his bus lunge around mine, and I stop. I thought, okay, we're going to try to get around Pacific. And I don't play games in a bus. I just stop, let the idiot go. He starts pushing around from behind me, and then I hear the horn. I look in my mirror, and there's a little blue car just on the other side of him with his nose sticking out. This car was trying to get around him, and he jerked out in his haste to get in front of me and cut me off. That car was inches from his fender, and I thought to myself, a way to go, Democrat. You almost took out a car, and that would have cost you your job. This is the stuff I'm talking about. And I shared that with another driver. Yesterday, we were on an excursion with about 25 buses. Kids went to go see a play from all these different schools. A group of us are standing outside our bus talking. And I hear this I'm like, uh-oh. And somebody says, shoot, what was that? I look and I see this bus stopped on the service road, and I thought, oh my gosh, did she just back into a car? And I looked, and we found out she had put the bus in reverse, and I back up cautiously. She punched it, slammed into one of the signs. This is private property. Bent the sign completely over, and then she goes and parks like nothing happened. Somebody reported it, and I was questioned, and I said, yeah, she plowed into the sign back there, and we heard it. And the supervisor who was out there directing us, because when we have a big movement of kids, supervisors will come down, direct us where to park, then they'll have all the kids come out to the buses, load all the buses, get all the kids out of the way, then we leave, instead of having buses pull up and load and the danger of possible run over. And that caused the drivers talk. Have you seen some of the drivers we're hiring lately? They're backing into stuff, they're hitting parked cars, they're banging stuff, and some of them won't even report it. And then the driver of the car saw it, and they're calling saying, hey, your bus just hit me and left. When the manager talked yesterday about the fights in the break room, I just sat there the whole time going, this is all girl crap. All of it. This Hispanic woman doesn't like this woman. But I noticed something. The Mexican woman that I couldn't stand, that I've started to like, not in a romantic way, I've gotten to know her and I understand why she's jaded. She can't stand the loudmouth black woman, or so she says. But when we were all playing cards the other day, those two alpha females, neither one of them was going to offend each other. So there's this leveling going on. And I had asked the black girl who got into an accident the other day, she went to make a right turn and her tail swing hit a car. And I said, what happened? This is what she said. She said, I did not hit that car. That car ran into my back end. And I said, what did the police do? Well, they gave me the ticket. And I thought, generally speaking, on tail swing incidences, it's our fault. If we're in a right lane or a left lane and we're turning, that back end is 12 feet out over the back tires, and it swings and scrapes stuff. I'm always watching that. People that think we're just dumb bus drivers, I'll tell you what, it isn't just babysitting kids, it's watching your vehicle. And we got a lot of narrow streets that are heavy traffic. I have to stop. Oncoming traffic's out of my way, but I can't make the left until these cars that are that close to the side of my bus move. Otherwise, I'm going to take out everything. I don't know what happened. She claims that the whole mirror, side mirror of the car was broken off. She goes, that's impossible. If my tail swing couldn't have done that, she must have ran into me. And that could have happened. And I said, oh. I said, well, how did the cop determine that? Because you both had to move out of the lane of traffic. So, and the other woman who can't stand her says, quit asking her questions. I said, excuse me? I said, if she doesn't want me to ask her, she can tell me. And I noticed all of a sudden she's trying to, but yet she can't stand her. Group dynamics is very real. But when a terminal manager is talking to people transporting students, children, kids, and we got all this going on in our break room, I looked around that room yesterday and I thought, my gosh, this alone, I wish I could YouTube this. I would never be allowed to bring a video in there and post that. I could get in trouble. But just have a hidden camera and watch all this play out. And just the differences in people. We've got white people with college degrees. We got Mexican entire families working in there. A woman with several daughters, bus aides, and so many familial connections in there, from the office to the school bus to the routing to administration. And even the lady said, we are in a different dynamic here. We have a lot of family members. And we have kids on the bus that pull out. They'll say, I'll say, hey, quit hitting her. She's my sister, mister. I don't care if she's your sister. On the bus, we don't hit. And then you'll get parents calling. They're brother and sister. Why are you riding up? He's punching her. And she's saying, stop it. Well, but we're family. Oh, okay, I guess your family, that means is okay. I didn't know that was the way it was. I was contemplating and have been contemplating at the end of the school year of leaving, but then I stop and say, where do I go? Many people write me and say, man, sounds like you got a messed up workplace. It's all over this country, folks. It's all over this country. There's nowhere to hide. There's nowhere to go to get away from that. Not only do women not take criticism, but people in general don't. The Democrat male who is not going to get a girlfriend and he complains about it. I take one look at his physique and everything. He wears baggy frumpy shorts and baggy frumpy sweat jacket. And he's a weird dude. He hangs out with all these overweight black women playing cards and laughing like a little girl, and I look at him and go, gosh. And when I've walked through the break room, he has no muscle tone, he has no physique whatsoever. He'll walk as close as me to he can to graze my shoulder. Yesterday I saw him coming and I had my ammo box with my stuff and I put it out in front of my chest and he moved away. I thought, you know what? Don't start with me, dude. Don't even. Bullies, they don't pick on people their own size. And a lot of bullies are overweight, roly-polies. And those same people are the ones that get on the internet, the ones that aren't the good-looking ones, the ones that didn't get good grades, whatever. But even some with straight A's will get on the internet. Somebody said something that it's a lot of office people. I was amazed when I was in chat rooms how many people working at work would come in chat rooms. Oh, I can't turn on my cam right now. I'm at work. And I type, does your boss know you're in here? Oh, no, I'd be fired for this. So everybody knows. I'm amazed how many people get into the internet while they're at work. And the funny thing is, if the boss pulls up a review of the server activity, they can see all that. Stupid. But criticism is not accepted in our culture because of empowerment, because men have idolized and literally worshipped good-looking women. I criticize good-looking women constantly. I look at them and go, listen to what they're saying. Look at how they're driving. Look at the way they're carrying themselves. I don't care how good-looking she is. That does not give her a free pass to be a jerk. It does not give her a free pass to drive her Beamer, cutting in and out of traffic and cutting everybody off. Duluth, Minnesota, years ago. I come into the bus garage one day and there's this drop-dead gorgeous woman dressed in finery, expensive clothes, comes in. I'm like, now that cannot be a driver. And dispatch says, I need you to ride with Buffy on her bus and double up as a bus aide in between my regular routes. I said, okay. And then he called me aside. He said, that woman out there, she's going to be riding the bus with you. She's been court ordered to ride the bus because she blew a stop sign and she's had a bunch of traffic violations. And the judge says she makes so much money that fining her isn't going to do any good. And I smiled. I said, oh, I love it. I talked to this woman while we were picking up little Head Start kids. The driver was driving, and she turned out to be a very nice girl. She had to ride for several weeks. She said to me one day, she said, you know what? I had no idea what you guys do. I feel so bad that I did what I did, and I look at these little kids and think I could have killed one of them. She changed. I started thinking if I had the means, I would do a TV show where I'd find one of those business corporate idiots that weaves in and out of traffic, cuts off the bus, no blinkers, is all cocky, pull up with my crew and say, hey, you've been selected to be on our show. Really? Yep. I want you. You're going to ride for 1 week. We're going to pay you to do this. You're going to ride with school bus driver. Kind of guy that you would not like in an office setting. Take these guys out of their element. Say, just sit behind me and ride with me. I want you to see this. And see if it changes them after a week. Our society is very divided. Professionals are not going to hang out with a guy like me, and they tend to automatically, because of their degree, their suit and tie, that bus driver, ride with me. Watch what we see. Watch these kids. And then when you get 67 junior high kids that are saying mofo to you, tell the guy in the suit and tie and say, I want you to wear your suit and tie. And I want you to turn around. I want you to look at all 67 of these kids. Tell me how brave you think you are. Then I want you to look out my windshield and watch how many people are cutting me off and almost causing accidents. And I want you to get this. And then I want you to see when kids are crossing the street and a woman runs the stop sign. I want you to just watch this. You cannot teach our culture today very easily. You cannot teach arrogant people to be humble. The woman in Duluth, that was back in the early 90s, she rode a bus for 2 weeks and she got it. She said, she told me, I make enough money, the fines meant nothing to me, but she said, this here has taught me something. And I politely said, I'm glad to hear that, ma'am, and I'm glad I got to meet you. You're a pretty nice gal. We need to take the people out of their little insular environments and slam them into another and say, why don't you ride with a semi-truck driver for a week? You think you're a big bad suit and tie guy? Sit next to big bad Bob and his Peterbilt. Ride with him for a week and watch him put the tire chains on and watch him. I guarantee you, you aren't going to sit there and pull ego with him. Because when you're stuck in that confining cab with him with a double sleeper for a week, you're going to tone it down real quickly and find out you're not the alpha male after all, spacky. If only people would put themselves in the shoes of others. I've been in the shoes of the average worker driving to work. I used to drive stupid. And I do. At the end of every day, I think most Americans are stupid, dumb ASSs. I look at the way they act, and it's clear. I had a thought the other day, guys, forgive me. There was a little car in front of me. Somebody had their golden retriever or the yellow lab, one of those dogs, golden retriever. I'm sorry, tail wagging, and you could see its butthole. I mean, big brown butthole right at the back window, and I thought, gosh. And I suddenly had this thought come to my mind and said, evolutionists want to say we're evolving, and I'm going, they say that we're all animals and all that, and I thought, boy, that dog can show its butt. Why can't I walk around with my pants off? If we're really just products of evolution, why can't I walk around naked and strap a little tail to me, stand up in the back deck of somebody's car and stand there with this little motorized tail going and put my butt in the windshield? Somebody would call that in for indecent exposure. And I started thinking about that, and I thought, how hypocritical is that? The dog's nude? Why can't I be nude? Sorry, guys, just a little humor there, but I thought, our society, if they would only stop and think the stupid things that they believe in and think them through and out, they would have to go, that is ridiculous. People don't take criticism, whether they're good looking or overweight. Our culture is unaccepting of it. And yet everybody gives criticism. Everybody. The loudmouth black woman sitting there judging everybody. The loudmouth Mexican woman is judging everybody. Everybody's criticizing. Just don't criticize me. Doesn't matter if you're good looking. Doesn't matter if you're not good looking. Americans have been conditioned to believe they can do no wrong. And I think in the very last verse in the book of Judges in the Bible, each man did that which was right in his own eyes. That is where we are today. Last night at the house here, there was company for the people that I stay with. Couple in their 70s. Beautiful woman, 75 years old, long hair, slender, great shape for her age. She was talking about the Lord. She was talking about the way things are. We were talking about, she said something about Christmas, and I said, I don't celebrate. She goes, really? We don't either. And we were talking about how even in the church today, if you think independently and you've had your eyes open to the truth, a lot of Christians will think you're a whack job because you don't run with them and their little traditions and stuff. And I don't celebrate Christmas because I believe it's pagan to the core, for those of you that have just tuned in and don't understand why I don't celebrate Christmas. So if you don't do that, people will say, but you're a Christian, you don't celebrate Christmas? What is wrong with you? Nothing's wrong with me. I'm quite liberated, actually, because I'm not caught up in all that crapola. Are you a Jehovah's Witness? No, sir, Bob. One thing I've noticed in our culture is people don't want to dig deeper. They don't want to check things out. When you tell women, especially feelings-based women, biblical truth, and you start talking about, do you know the origins of this stuff? Well, that's not what it means to me. It's a special time, decorating the tree. We do this thing with our kids. You know what? I don't care about all that emotional hoophoria. I asked you from a biblical, intellectual perspective, have you studied where all this stuff comes from? You tell your kids that, you can't do this or that, and you have your reasons for it, but it's okay to celebrate traditions that literally go against God's very word. And you fail to read in the Bible where God told Israel to quit worshiping idols. Well, I don't worship idols. You can't let go of your Christmas tree, can you? You can't stop and take a look at, is Jesus really the reason for the season? Or did the Catholic Church and the winter solstice religions and the Babylonian threads that run all through this thing, did you look at all that? Our culture bases everything on feelings, and if you hurt somebody's feelings, watch out. If you stand up and speak the truth, say, yeah, she's a pretty woman, but I don't particularly care for her. If that gets back to her, she will hate your guts. She already does anyway. One of my viewers said he would come and put that black gal in her place. I don't think anybody can. She's dripping with arrogance. There's one that will put her in her place, and I take comfort in that, and I smile when I entertain the thought. I can't wait until God walks up to her and sticks her chest out and bumps her. Says, yo. She goes, yeah, you bumping me? I'm being somewhat satirical here, but God just saying, if God were to get down on her level, which he wouldn't, do his head and say, and you think you're all that? No, God isn't going to do that. He's going to look at her and say, depart from me, I never knew you. You won't even hear a whimper from her as he pulls the big chrome handle that says, to hell. Whoosh! Down the potty. Some of you may think I'm self-righteous and insensitive. I am not. But I've lived in this culture and I'm tired of it. And I've got to be honest with you. I don't feel sorry for people like that are going to spend eternity in hell. Why? I hear, well, you should care for... I can't. I cannot possibly care for all the evil people in the world. I pray for them. I pray that God would open their eyes. And if they got saved, I'd give them a hug and welcome them in. But if they want to stick their neck out like that and be arrogant and loudmouth and think they're better than everybody, be honest, I can't wait for the day when their eyes are open and it's like, oh, you bad. Because it is not my job to feel sorry for those people. It's my job to pray for them. But they made their choice. In America, I don't have much compassion because people here are without excuse. When a disaster hits the Philippines, that bothers me. There's a lot of simple people that don't know what is going on. They're just trying to survive. But in America, we have agendas. We've heard the gospel. We know the truth. And we're militantly denying it. When a black woman cannot look in the mirror, or a Mexican woman, or a white woman, and actually stop and go, there's a whole lot of people in this room that are not impressed with you, and they have lives and stories and paths that they've tread, that they have something to contribute to, and you just summarily dismiss them all? No, you're a piece of ghetto trash. And my day will come when God opens their eyes. Praise his name. I hope this addresses your question. I cannot single out good-looking women as being unable to take criticism. I think our whole culture is guilty of that. Good-looking women generally don't get criticized because men are thinking with the head between their legs rather than the one up on top of their neck. And that's always a problem. Men lose their objectivity when a woman with a pair of breasts walks by, and I've seen it in chat rooms, I've seen it in the workplace, that they won't criticize her. They think that that beautiful woman that walks in, they've just discovered the Holy Grail. Whatever. You got a hard on, get control of yourself. This is Pacific signing off, and it's Friday. Bye bye.